It is better to be feared than loved. If you cannot be both, weakness is the crack in the wall where fear does not serve you, but consumes you. When you leave that crack unguarded, it becomes the opening through which others march. Weakness is never neutral. It is a signal flare that calls predators closer. When hesitation shows, when you falter in your own conviction, the world notices, just as vultures circle the wounded animal. Indecision invites challenge. You may think your flaws are hidden, but they announce themselves in tone, posture, and delay. Every environment you step into is a battlefield of subtle moves. The office, the conversation, the negotiation, even silence itself, each is the ground where weakness is tested. In modern life, hesitation does not need to be shouted. It is seen in the pause before you answer, in the nervous glance, in the half-hearted defense of your own boundary. People often smile, but behind the smile, there is calculation. A colleague may wait for you to speak last, so they can override your point. A partner in discussion may lean on your indecision to steer the outcome. The predator is not always violent. More often, it is quiet and patient. You cannot allow your weakness to remain exposed. To pretend it does not matter is to hand over your crown. The throne cannot stay empty. Either you sit upon it or your weakness will. To claim it, you must train yourself to act with cold clarity. When uncertainty arises, decide quickly and own the result. Weak, I think maybe this could work. Strong, this is the path forward. Weak, I hope this is fine with everyone. Strong, here is the decision I stand by. Language is not decoration, it is armor. Every word either reinforces your command or signals surrender. There will be moments when disagreement appears. Picture yourself in a meeting where your idea is challenged. The untrained will react with defensiveness or silence. The sovereign mind remains still, responds with precision, and holds position without anger. Calm authority disarms aggression more effectively than loud resistance. The enemy in that moment is not the other person, but your own impulse to collapse. Weakness turned into strength is not fantasy. It is forged through vigilance, through the ruthless awareness that the world will press wherever you bend. Seal the cracks, sharpen your words, steady your presence. Your choice is simple. Be mastered by hesitation, or master yourself. Remember this line: the throne will never stay empty. The mind is a throne, and whether you rule it or not, something will. If you fail to seize command, the court of thoughts becomes unruly. Doubt, fear, and distraction begin to argue like rebellious ministers, each pulling you in a different direction. Machiavelli wrote that fortune controls only part of human affairs, while the rest is directed by choice and will. If you do not rule, your own mind becomes the first tyrant you face. Your inner sovereign must stand above this court. A sovereign sets order, decides firmly, and punishes rebellion. When a thought of weakness arrives, you do not entertain it. You decree its dismissal. When temptation whispers, you do not negotiate. You command silence. To let your mind wander aimlessly is to leave the gates open to invaders. History shows that rulers who failed to command their courts were soon undermined by factions and betrayal. The same is true inside you. Without control, every stray doubt conspires against your authority. Modern life amplifies this vulnerability. Notifications, advertisements, and endless noise are siege engines battering at your mental walls. If you treat your mind casually, the walls will crack. A castle that is open to every messenger and every distraction cannot stand against siege. Guarding your mind requires boundaries as strict as iron gates. Turn off what weakens you. Reduce the constant interruptions that scatter your focus. In practice, This means carving sacred hours where no device, no idle voice, no petty distraction can reach you. Your mind must become a fortress, not a marketplace. Strengthening this fortress also means choosing what enters. Just as a king carefully selects who is allowed into his court, you must decide what influences take root. Letting every opinion and headline march into your head is surrender. Weak. I can't focus because the world is too noisy. Strong. I decide what enters my gates. Weak. I have no control over my attention. Strong. I guard my focus like a fortress. The difference is sovereignty. There will be times when others press you to bend. Imagine a group demanding your immediate response, but you have set aside that time for concentrated work. The weak mind gives in to appease. The sovereign mind holds the line calmly. You do not lash out. You state clearly that this time is protected, and you return to your task. Calm resolve disarms the challenge without chaos. Every throne comes with chains or a crown. If you rule your mind, it becomes the crown that empowers every decision, every strategy, every step you take. If you neglect it, those same thoughts and impulses harden into chains that bind your will. The battlefield is not somewhere distant. It is within your own head. Guard it, command it, and fortify it. Rule the mind, or the mind will rule you. The morning is a battlefield, and the first hour is the clash that decides the war of the day. If you hesitate at dawn, the enemy of inertia takes ground before you have even drawn a sword. History shows that commanders understood this truth. Armies marched at sunrise, not at noon. Alexander began his advances in the early hours when discipline was sharp and the enemy unprepared. Roman legions moved with precision as the sun rose, establishing control before chaos could emerge. To wait until later was to surrender the advantage. The same applies to your own campaign. The earlier you seize command, the less room weakness has to maneuver. Your first hour is your drill ground. What you do immediately after waking becomes the tone of the day's campaign. If you reach for distraction, you hand the keys of your fortress to chance. If you begin with structure, you crown yourself commander. Modern life makes this battle harder, because the moment you open your phone, the noise of the world storms in. News, messages, demands, each is an enemy soldier breaching the gates. Guard your beginning with strict ritual. Move your body, clear your space, and choose one decisive action that marks the territory as yours. Weak, I'll see how I feel before starting. Strong, at this time I begin. Weak, I'll check what others need first. Strong, I secure my ground before giving it away. These are not words for comfort. They are commands that shape your presence. Picture the enemy you face each morning. It is not a rival in armor, but the silent pull of sleep, the haze of laziness, the scattered impulses of chaos. They wait at the gates of dawn, hoping you will roll over, hoping you will postpone, hoping you will let them inside. The only defense is to rise and move before they gather strength. By acting with discipline at the very start, you seize ground they cannot reclaim. Consider a simple conflict. A colleague once pressed me to handle their urgent request first thing in the morning. The weak path would have been to abandon my plan and scramble to please. The strong path was to calmly state that my first hour was committed to strategic work and that I would respond afterward. No hostility, no apology, only clear command. The result was respect rather than friction, because order always commands more than chaos. Each morning, the throne of the day is empty. The throne will not wait for indecision. Either you sit upon it through decisive ritual, or weakness claims it before you rise. Command the dawn, and the day will follow. Win the morning, win the war. Stillness is not surrender. It is the sharpened edge of command, the weapon that waits unsheathed while others burn their strength in noise. Generals have long known the power of the pause. Armies that attacked recklessly often collapsed, while those that held ground and advanced with patience won lasting victories. In chess, the master does not rush every move. He studies the board, lets the opponent overextend, then strikes with precision. The pause is not delayed, it is a calculation. To wait deliberately is to turn time into a weapon. In your own life, the same principle applies. The world around you is loud, filled with constant reaction. People rush to speak first, to respond instantly, to fill silence with words that weaken their position. Yet silence can unnerve more than argument. When you do not rush to answer, you command the rhythm of the exchange. Consider a meeting where everyone pushes for your agreement. The weak impulse is to blurt a yes or no, hoping to end the tension. The strong move is to hold still, breathe, and measure your words. That pause alone alters the balance. Weak, I guess that's fine. Strong, I've considered and this is my decision. Weak, I don't know, maybe. Strong, here is where I stand. The silence before the statement makes the statement cut deeper. In modern life, this stillness is a decisive advantage. When faced with provocation, your calm reveals who truly holds the throne. The impatient betray themselves, showing every card too early. You, by waiting, preserve your strength. The world mistakes speed for power, but speed without aim is wasted ammunition. Stillness gathers your focus and directs it like a blade. Picture the predator at the edge of the forest. The wolf does not leap at every sound. It lowers its breath, watches, and waits. Hours may pass before the strike, but when it comes, it is final. You must train your mind in the same way. Do not confuse endless motion with progress. Train yourself to sit in quiet readiness, and then move only when the strike is unavoidable. There will be times when others misread your stillness as weakness. A colleague may try to dominate a conversation, filling the air with forceful words. Do not rush to interrupt. Let them run until their energy is spent. Then, in a measured tone, deliver your position clearly and calmly. The weight of your stillness will outlast their noise. The pause is the sovereign's privilege. The commander who can wait, watch, and strike on his terms is never ruled by the chaos of others. Guard your silence, refuse to be rushed. Convert stillness into strength. Calm is the sharpest blade. Power is concentration, and concentration demands sacrifice. History shows that rulers who endured did not carry every comfort with them. They cut away what weakened their command. Roman generals often left behind luxury when campaigning. Living as soldiers lived to preserve discipline. Leaders who removed friends that threatened stability or luxuries that softened resolve kept their crowns while others lost them. Machiavelli observed that a prince must be willing to act against pity, friendship, and even promises if those things endangered his rule. The lesson is harsh but clear. To govern, you must eliminate what divides your focus. In modern life, the battlefield is not a palace court, but the screen in your hand, the endless lure of noise, the cycle of habits that bleed energy without return. If you kneel to distraction, you surrender your sovereignty. Guard your time as a ruler guards territory. Delete what consumes without feeding your purpose. Silence the endless scroll. Remove the app that devours your mornings and distance yourself from the voices that thrive on your hesitation. Weak, I'll just use it less. Strong, it no longer exists in my world. Weak, I'll try to ignore it. Strong, I have eliminated it completely. The ruler who dithers is toppled by rebellion. The ruler who cuts decisively stays in power. Imagine yourself in the courtyard of your own mind. Before you stand rows of distractions, each begging for attention. One is the whisper of gossip, another the lure of meaningless entertainment, another the temptation of comfort over progress. They smile like courtiers, but their goal is to drain the treasury of your energy. You must treat them as traitors, call them forward, name them for what they are, and remove them from your presence. Execution in this sense is not cruelty. It is clarity. You do not negotiate with what undermines you. You eliminate it so that your focus remains sharp. There will be resistance. A colleague may ask why you are not as available on every platform, or why you no longer respond instantly. The weak answer is apology. The strong answer is calm firmness. You are focused, and your priorities demand silence from lesser things. Respect follows when your boundaries are consistent. The crown is not held by explaining yourself to every voice. It is held by acting as though your time already belongs to something greater. Concentration is not a gift. It is the throne built on elimination. You cannot fight 100 battles at once and expect to win. Choose the few that matter and cut away the rest. Ruthlessness in this sense is self-respect, the refusal to let your kingdom be overrun by noise, eliminate distraction, or be eliminated by it. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Machiavelli's words strike at the heart of command, for power is not only action, but appearance. Reputation is armor, and without it the throne is exposed. Princes in history guarded their image as carefully as they guarded their armies. A single misstep in how they appeared could undo years of strategy. They understood that the mask they wore before the public was as decisive as any sword. To be careless with reputation was to invite betrayal. The image you project is not decoration. It is the first line of defense on the chessboard of society. In the modern world, this battlefield is more visible than ever. Social media has become the theater where masks clash. Every post, every picture, every word is interpreted as a signal of strength or weakness. If you appear indecisive, you lose authority. If you appear reckless, you lose trust. To navigate this war, you must be deliberate. Do not confuse authenticity with exposure. Guard your private life and control your public stance. Weak, here's everything I feel. Strong, here is what I choose to reveal. Weak, I must explain myself to everyone. Strong, I present only what reinforces my position. The difference is not dishonesty. It is discipline. You choose the mask that shields you while advancing your strategy. Masks are not deception. They are weapons in the arsenal of command. Imagine a sovereign with multiple masks displayed before him. One mask radiates calm confidence for negotiation. Another burns with authority for moments of conflict. A third reveals measured warmth to inspire loyalty. Each is chosen for the field where it is needed. To enter every battle with the same mask is to fight with a single weapon when an armory stands ready. The theater of power demands flexibility. You must know when to appear firm, when to appear generous, and when to appear silent. The point is not to be false, but to be precise. There will be moments when others test your mask. A rival may accuse you of being distant or too guarded. The weak response is to crumble and overshare. The strong response is calm clarity. You maintain boundaries because you value focus and respect. In that moment, your mask does not crack. It strengthens. Authority grows not from yielding to every demand, but from holding steady in the face of pressure. The world plays by appearances, whether you acknowledge it or not. If you ignore this, others will write your image for you, and you will be ruled by their judgment. If you master it, your mask becomes armor, weapon, and throne all at once. Control the mask, control the power. It is better to be impetuous than cautious, because fortune is a woman, and if you wish to master her, you must conquer her by force. Machiavelli understood that hesitation is often deadlier than error. History is filled with figures who acted as cold executors, cutting swiftly when delay would have destroyed them. Political assassins, whether literal or strategic, knew that survival required decisive elimination. Roman leaders often struck first against rivals before rivals struck them. Their power was not built on endless reflection, but on the willingness to act without flinching when the moment demanded. The lesson is not cruelty but clarity. You cannot allow indecision to paralyze you when command is required. In modern life, this assassin is decision-making at its sharpest. Leaders who survive scrutiny and chaos are those who move firmly while others drown in hesitation. Consider a CEO forced to cut failing projects to preserve a company's future. Critics attack, voices protest, but survival depends on the blade of choice. Weak, I don't want to upset anyone. Strong, this must be done for stability. Weak, I'll wait until it's safe. Strong, I will act now because delay is a risk. Every role of leadership demands such executions, whether of ideas, commitments, or directions. The difference between collapse and command is the willingness to cut away what no longer serves. Inside you live this same executor, the blade within. Imagine him as an assassin waiting in the shadows of your mind. He is calm, unshaken, and silent until called. He does not chatter, he does not hesitate. When you summon him, he strikes cleanly, removing doubt, removing weakness, removing distractions. Most people never call upon him, fearing the finality of his strike. Yet without him, your kingdom is overrun by unfinished tasks, unmade decisions, and boundaries you never enforced. To rule, you must learn to command this inner assassin, not fear him. There will be times when others test this side of you. Perhaps a peer presses for compromise that drags you away from your principle. The weak path is to bend out of comfort. The strong path is to state firmly, without hostility, that your position is final. Calm firmness is execution in conversation. It closes the matter, leaving no opening for continued erosion. Your blade in that moment is not violence, but clarity. The assassin within is not cruelty, but necessity. He ensures that your throne does not topple under the weight of indecision. Call on him when hesitation clouds your vision. Command him to strike when weakness lingers. Without his presence, your sovereignty dissolves. With him you cut cleanly, preserve order, and hold power. Hesitation kills, decisiveness rules. Rome itself was founded under the image of the wolf. The myth of Romulus and Remus shows two abandoned children sustained by the milk of a she-wolf, a predator that became a mother to the empire. For Romans, the wolf symbolized strength, ferocity, and endurance. The animal was not tame, but wild, dangerous, and sovereign. That symbol carried into the legions, who marched with standards marked by the wolf's presence. To invoke the wolf was to invoke survival, the will to dominate, and the clarity that only the strongest endure. This symbol is not distant history. It is a reminder that what you feed inside yourself becomes the foundation of your power. You carry two wolves within, one born of weakness, the other of strength. The weak wolf feeds on laziness, indulgence, and distraction. The strong wolf feeds on discipline, focus, and decisive energy. Every choice you make is a morsel of food placed before one of them. Over time, the one you nourish becomes the animal that defends your throne. The Romans honored the wolf because they understood that predators do not ask permission to rule. They hunt, they endure, and they command territory by sheer force of will. You must claim the same instinct. Modern life disguises this battle in subtler ways. It is not fought on plains or inside forests, but inside your habits and energy management. What you eat, how you sleep, what you consume mentally, each act is a feeding ritual. Nutrition is not just health, it is war supply. If you overload on sugar, distraction, or endless scrolling, you are handing provisions to the weaker wolf. If you rise early, train your body, guard your mind, you are arming the stronger one. Weak, I'll get to it when I can. Strong, this is a priority and I act now. Weak, I deserve comfort first. Strong, I build strength first, reward after. Each small exchange is a skirmish, and you either reinforce the predator that guards your kingdom or the parasite that drains it. Energy is the currency of modern warfare, and you cannot waste it on what weakens you. Leaders who endure know how to channel resources. They cut away what bleeds them, and they fuel what sharpens them. Your habits are supply lines, and supply lines decide wars. Guard them as ruthlessly as a commander guards his provisions. Visualize the wolves before you. The weak one crouches, begging, whining for scraps. The strong one waits, silent, eyes fixed, hungry for the hunt. Whichever you choose to feed multiplies and eventually commands your army. If you consistently hand food to weakness, you will find yourself surrounded by a pack of limitations. If you train discipline, sacrifice, and clarity, soon you are no longer one wolf. You command a legion of predators. There will be resistance when you starve weakness. Friends may question why you no longer indulge the same way, why you no longer waste hours in the same circles. The weak answer is apology. The strong answer is calm conviction. You are feeding what makes you dangerous, and you will not nourish what keeps you soft. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are the protection of your throne. The Romans saw the wolf as the emblem of survival and conquest. You must take the same lesson. Feed what makes you formidable. Starve what makes you fragile. In time, the wolf you feed will decide the empire you build. The wolf you feed becomes your crown. Life is a chessboard, and every move you make reveals whether you play like a sovereign or stumble like a pawn. History has shown that the greatest commanders borrowed their thinking from the game. Chess originated as a study of war, and generals often described their campaigns in similar terms. Napoleon reorganized his forces like pieces on a board, sacrificing pawns to lure opponents into traps. Others studied terrain and timing as if the battlefield were a grid, where each position carried weight and meaning. The principle remains: life is not chaos. It is structured. Every piece matters. Every weakness can be shifted, and victory belongs to those who think beyond the immediate move. Modern life demands the same strategic vision. Business is played like chess, where companies position themselves, anticipate rivals, and sacrifice smaller ventures to secure larger markets. Politics operates on this board as well. Leaders choose alliances, test their opposition, and use patience to outmaneuver competitors. You may not command armies, but you face the same calculation. The projects you start, the people you invest in, the habits you maintain, each is a piece on your board. If you move impulsively, you weaken your position. If you think with discipline, you extend your reach. Weak, I'll decide when forced. Strong, I decide before I am cornered. Weak, I just react. Strong, I play 3 moves ahead. In strategy, the one who reacts always kneels to the one who plans. The most overlooked truth of the chessboard is the power of the pawn. It begins weak, limited, often dismissed. Yet the board is designed so that if the pawn advances with patience and endurance, it can ascend to the highest rank, transforming into a queen. This is not metaphorical fantasy. It is a practical reminder that even your smallest, most fragile qualities can be leveraged into weapons. A weakness can become a crown if you position it correctly. The skill you neglect, the discipline you avoid, the small effort you overlook, each could be a pawn that, if pushed forward consistently, turns into unmatched strength. Picture yourself facing pressure at work. A rival presents their ideas aggressively, hoping to dominate the room. The weak response is to match their aggression without preparation. The strong response is to remain composed, knowing your structure is sound. You wait, let them expend their energy, then reveal the stronger position you prepared beforehand. Calm strategy disarms noise. The board bends to foresight, not to loudness. Life is not a random roll of dice. It is a match of endurance, patience, and placement. Each move you make builds the future shape of the board. Do not complain about the pieces you have. Master them. Do not despair at being a pawn. Advance. Do not waste moves on vanity. Plan for victory. The chessboard is already before you, and the throne belongs to the one who sees it clearly. Play the board, not the moment. Discipline is not born in grand moments. It is forged in ritual, hammered into you like iron at the blacksmith's fire. History shows that soldiers, monks, and emperors understood this law. Roman legions drilled daily, repeating formations until they became reflex, so that in war they moved as one body. Monastic orders structured their entire day around prayer and labor, believing that order created strength, spirit. Emperors built morning routines, not out of luxury, but out of necessity, because consistency hardened their will against chaos. Rituals were not ornaments. They were weapons of control, shaping men into unbreakable instruments of command. In modern life, the battlefield is different, but the principle remains unchanged. Your habits are the rituals that forge or weaken you. The gym is not merely exercise, it is daily training of resolve. Journaling is not idle reflection, it is sharpening the clarity of the mind. Meditation is not escape, it is the sovereign stillness, building endurance to command yourself in noise. Weak. I'll do it when I feel like it. Strong. I do it because it is who I am. Weak. I'll start tomorrow. Strong. I act today. Ritual repeatedly becomes identity. Identity repeated becomes will. You cannot build strength by improvisation alone. You build it by forging the same strike, day after day, until it cuts without hesitation. Imagine your will as iron placed on an anvil. Each day you rise, you bring it to the fire. Each discipline is a hammer blow. One strike for your body, one for your focus, one for your boundaries. Some days the strikes feel small, almost invisible. But iron does not harden in a single moment. It hardens under relentless heat and steady blows. If you abandon the forge halfway, the iron remains brittle. If you return daily, it becomes unbreakable. Your will must be treated with the same cold seriousness. There will be times when others question your rituals. They may ask why you refuse late-night indulgence, why you guard your mornings, why you repeat what looks to them like monotony. The weak answer is to defend yourself with an apology. The strong answer is calm and simple. Discipline is the price of command. Authority does not grow from comfort. It grows from control. You do not owe explanation for the work that keeps your throne secure. Rituals are not cages. They are armor. They transform flesh into steel. They turn hesitation into reflex. They make your will untouchable. Without them, you remain soft, swayed by impulse, unprepared for battle. With them, you carry within you an iron crown that no enemy can break. Do not wait for inspiration to strike. Build the fire, swing the hammer, forge yourself into something immovable. Rituals make the will iron. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. These words are not cruelty, they are armor. To become untouchable, you must take what others call weakness and transform it into strength, so that no strike against you finds its mark. History is full of leaders who were ridiculed, underestimated, or scarred, yet they converted those wounds into weapons. Some rose from poverty and used their hard beginnings as proof of endurance. Others took exile or humiliation and turned it into a relentless strategy. What should have destroyed them instead made them unassailable. The untouchable figure is not free of weakness. He has burned weakness in the fire and forged it into a shield. In your own time, you face the same challenge. Modern life throws ridicule, rejection, and failure at you with precision. If you let it, these blows bury you. If you seize them, they harden you. Every insult can become fuel. Every mistake can become a lesson sharpened into a blade. The ridicule that once made you hide can be used as proof of resilience. The failure that once shook you becomes the foundation of your credibility. Weak, I was broken by this setback. Strong, this setback built my discipline. Weak, they mocked me, so I doubted. Strong, they mocked me, so I learned to stand without approval. The moment you turn pain into leverage, the strikes that once hurt you only expand your reach. Imagine your throne built from the very stones once thrown at you. Each insult is a brick in the foundation. Each failure is a step carved into the staircase. Each betrayal becomes the wall behind your back. You sit not despite these blows, but because of them. The sovereign who is untouchable is not the one untouched by attack, but the one who transforms every attack into reinforcement. In this state, the enemy cannot wound you, because every attempt only strengthens the fortress. Consider a common trial in daily life. A project collapses, and critics rush to question your judgment. The weak response is to deny fault or retreat. The strong response is calm acknowledgement, extracting the lesson and showing through action that you rise stronger. You do not argue with ridicule, you outlast it. You do not collapse under failure, you repurpose it. The power of untouchability comes not from escaping struggle, but from reworking struggle into steel. History respects those who endure through transformation. The Roman general who survived defeat and returned stronger. The ruler who turned exile into sharpened vision. The thinker who was silenced yet used silence as a greater weapon. All became untouchable because weakness no longer belonged to them. It had been claimed, reworked and set on the throne as part of their crown. You must do the same. Gather your failures, your scars, your humiliations, and refuse to let them remain as chains. Melt them down, forge them into weapons, build your fortress with the very material others thought would bury you. When you master this alchemy, you cannot be destroyed, because even in defeat you are constructing the next form of your strength. To become untouchable is not to escape wounds, but to guarantee that every wound makes you stronger. Weakness does not vanish, it obeys you. It becomes armor, it becomes the throne, it becomes a weapon. Transform weakness into steel, and no hand can reach you. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. These words are the steel crown of command, and they prepare the ground for the cold sovereign, the one who has mastered every weapon, turned every wound into armor, and risen beyond the reach of ordinary men. To arrive here, you must gather all principles, the stillness of patience, the rituals of iron will, the masks of appearance, the cuts of ruthless elimination. None alone is enough, but when they converge, you become something more than the sum of parts. You become unshakable. Think of history's cold rulers who lived by synthesis. The general who blended caution with daring. The king who mixed generosity with ruthlessness. The strategist who alternated silence with sudden strikes. Their strength was not one dimension, but the convergence of many. Stillness by itself could be mistaken for weakness. Ruthlessness without restraint could become cruelty. But together, controlled in balance, these weapons formed the cold sovereign, a figure feared, respected, and impossible to dislodge. In the modern world, the throne is invisible, yet the choice remains. Every day you face two thrones, the throne of mastery and the throne of surrender. Either you sit upon the first, or you are ruled by the second. This is not abstract. If you master your mind, your time, and your habits, you rule. If you allow distraction, indulgence, and hesitation to hold the crown, you are ruled. Weak. I will try when it feels right. Strong. I command myself regardless of feeling. Weak. I wait to be chosen. Strong. I choose myself before the world decides. These are not mere words. They are positions on the chessboard of life. One declares sovereignty, the other concedes it. Picture yourself in conflict. A peer challenges your position, hoping to corner you. The untrained mind collapses, rushes to defend, or retreats into silence. The sovereign does not. You pause with stillness, not from fear, but from calculation. You deliver your stance calmly, without apology. The room bends toward the one who does not bend. This is the difference between being ruled and ruling yourself. Authority is not volume, but composure under fire. The cold sovereign also carries an immortal dimension. Imagine yourself as steel forged by fire, no longer flesh that bends under pressure. Every wound you suffered has been reforged into plates of armor. Every failure is now a sharpened blade at your side. Every weakness that once exposed you has become a wall behind your throne. You no longer fear betrayal, insult, or failure, because each only adds material to your fortress. The sovereign is not untouched by life's battles. He is reshaped by them until nothing remains soft, nothing remains vulnerable. This transformation is not fantasy. It is the practical result of discipline repeated, wounds analyzed, and perspective sharpened. Those who collapse under hardship become softer, more fragile. Those who use hardship as a forge become harder, more precise. In politics, in war, in personal life, the ones who endure are not the ones with no weakness. They are the ones who learn to weaponize weakness. This is the essence of the cold sovereign, to be untouchable, not because the world stopped attacking, but because every attack was absorbed and converted into strength. In today's world of exposure and noise, this principle is more vital than ever. People reveal too much, surrender too soon, and crave approval. The sovereign reveals only what strengthens the mask. He withholds what weakens. He does not chase applause. He demands respect through action. The modern sovereign cannot be cancelled, shamed, or mocked into collapse, because the material of his strength is already made from those same tools of attack. He is unshaken, because the very fire meant to destroy him has already been used to forge him. You must build yourself in the same way. Gather every lesson, the patience of stillness, the decisiveness of the inner assassin, the power of ritual, the protection of the mask, the focus of ruthless elimination. Do not treat them as separate exercises. Treat them as one discipline. The sovereign does not think in fragments. He lives as a whole. Every principle strengthens the others, and together they create something far beyond ordinary resilience. The final step is acceptance of your new form. You are no longer simply reacting, no longer pleading, no longer apologizing for existing. You are commanding, decisive, and calm. You are not at war with yourself, because the war has already been won. The throne is no longer empty, and the chains are no longer around your neck. The cold sovereign sits where hesitation once sat, and weakness has been banished from the court. Do not mistake this for arrogance. It is my responsibility. To become sovereign is to carry the weight of rule, the burden of decision, and the discipline of self-command. But it is also liberation, because once you master yourself, no external force can dethrone you. This is the convergence of all Machiavellian principles, the fusion of fear and love, ruthlessness and restraint, silence and command. The sovereign stance, forged of steel, untouchable, eternal. Rule yourself, and nothing can rule you. The throne is waiting, but it will not remain empty for long. In every environment you walk into, power is claimed quickly, often silently, and if you do not claim mastery, something else will. Without command of yourself, every smile hides a dagger. In the modern world, hesitation is a signal. Colleagues, rivals, even friends may press against your uncertainty to steer the outcome in their favor. If you lack boundaries, you become the pawn others maneuver. If you lack presence, you become the prey others circle. This is not paranoia, it is the structure of human interaction. Where weakness appears, advantage follows. History confirms what the present reveals. Leaders who secured their place did not wait for fortune to hand it to them. They trained themselves to see opportunity, to shape discipline, and to rule their impulses before ruling others. Those who mastered themselves rose beyond rivalry. Rivals could plot, critics could speak, enemies could strike, yet their position remained because it was rooted in inner control. Machiavelli himself argued that fortune governs only part of life, and that will determine the rest. Mastery is the shield that keeps the crown steady. Without it, the smallest disruption can topple you. With it, no storm displaces your throne. Your choice now is stark. Sit upon the throne of self-mastery, or remain a pawn scattered across the board of life. Imagine a battlefield where every soldier waits for orders. If you do not rise to command, another will, and you will march under their banner. Imagine a chessboard where you refuse to move forward. You remain a pawn, pushed and sacrificed according to someone else's design. The alternative is to seize control. Even the weakest pawn, when advanced with discipline, can ascend to queen. The same is true of you. Weak, I hope someone recognizes me. Strong, I crown myself with action. Weak, I'll see what others decide. Strong, I decide and others adapt. Power is not given, it is claimed. Do not confuse this with cruelty. Self-mastery is not domination of others, but refusal to be dominated by your own weakness. It is the crown forged from stillness, ritual, discipline, and decisiveness. It is the throne built on eliminating distraction and commanding presence. No one can grant you this position. You must rise to it. You must take the seat before hesitation does. The call is final. You cannot delay forever. Weakness is always ready to chain you, but strength is waiting to crown you. Your throne awaits. Rule yourself or be ruled.